Today we'll be taking a look at some of Becky Lynch's comments, some news on a big draft change, and more. Let's start things off with Becky Lynch's comments. Becky has been doing a lot of media interviews to promote Extreme Rules, and she addressed a handful of topics, from the 2018 broken nose situation to her feelings on other pro wrestling situations. So let's begin with the 2018 broken nose. It was late 2018, Survivor Series season was fully underway, and WWE was doing all they can to build up Raw vs. Smackdown theme for the event. One of these things that they did was have Becky Lynch lead the Smackdown roster into Raw for one of those classic brand invasion moments. Becky in the Smackdown locker room came storming to the ring from the crowd and got into the ring to fight all the Raw talent that were there. One of Becky's engagements in the ring was with Nia Jax. Nia threw a hard punch that accidentally destroyed Becky Lynch's nose. However, through this horrific accidental injury, it also created an iconic, legendary moment. That image of Becky Lynch standing tall in the crowd with a bloody face was something that just stuck with the fans. A lot of the fans, and even Becky Lynch herself, look at those moments as being the exact moment that Becky Lynch just took off into absolute superstardom. Becky was already a huge star before the incident, but it was something about that visual that really made everyone feel like a legend was born that night, and Nia's hard-hitting punch played a role in creating the legend of Becky Lynch. Even though it did promote a legendary moment, the days that followed Becky's broken nose weren't so great at all. Her highly anticipated one-on-one match with Ronda Rousey had to be cancelled, and even though they would meet in a triple threat match at WrestleMania 35, they never met one-on-one at all after that Survivor Series match was cancelled. Well, now nearing the 3-year anniversary of the big moment, Becky Lynch looked back at the entire situation while speaking with Give Me Sports. She had this to say on that broken nose moment on Raw. I think that, in retrospect, I need to buy Nia Jax a bouquet of flowers because I think without that image, myself covered in blood on top of the stands with my arms out like my career, it may not have gotten to the place that it's gotten now, So yeah, 100% it was a blessing in disguise. I don't know what would have happened otherwise. We, Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey, would have had our match. I probably would have won. Who knows? Who knows what would have happened? It's so hard to tell. But I am very grateful for everything that happened along the way. So even though it was a horrific accident in the exact moment, Becky looks back and believes that she should thank Nia Jax for accidentally launching her career off to higher and better places. Becky also had an interview with Metro where she talked about some of the most important things in pro wrestling. She had this to say: "I think that the connection with the crowd is the most important thing. It's more important than moves. It's more important than anything. Being able to connect with an audience. I feel like that is something I got fairly early on. Whether or not I was any good, it was just being able to connect with an audience. And 2 was story above all else. I think sometimes, as wrestlers who love wrestling, we want to have a good wrestling match in spite of story. Does that make sense? That can sometimes convolute things, and really, the things that everyone remembers is story. It's not moves, it's not flips, it's not Canadian destroyers, it's a story and how the whole story makes you feel. And that's what we do. We're storytellers. I think I learned that fairly early on, that's more important." Becky is 100% right. Everyone loves flashy wrestling moves and great overall matches, but in the bigger picture, there has to be a good story to go with it. Give us a reason why these two individuals are fighting. What's on the line? What's at stake? It doesn't have to be a champion per se, but if the story is so rich, the story can take the place of a championship being on the line. Similar to what we're seeing right now with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. So much drama and different elements surrounding that rich story that you can remove the Universal title from the matchup and it doesn't lose any hype or momentum because it's backed by such a great story. We're still looking at the match and anticipating it the same way if there was no title on the line. So, what Becky is saying there is true. Anyone can have a great wrestling match, but you pair it up with a great story and now you really make things even more memorable. Like Becky said, people seem to remember the stories first more than anything else. Lots of people look at Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin as one of the greatest storylines ever in WWE. Vince McMahon and Stone Cold never had a long match, full of crazy flips and insane moves, like Becky was saying. But they had such perfect storytelling that it was stuck with the fans even decades later. This is also the same sort of idea that got Randy Orton in trouble with the NXT roster. A few years ago, Orton and the NXT roster got into a little back and forth exchange of words because Orton basically said that they have great flips and matches, but little story over on NXT. That started up a big debate amongst the fans back then, but it still doesn't change the fact that what Becky is saying is true. That's why Roman Reigns has easily been ahead of everyone in WWE since his return, and that's because his storyline and storytelling is so rich that no one can even compete with it in WWE. So when it comes down to it, storytelling plays such a big role in not only wrestling, but pretty much everything else. In other sports, one game may be boring compared to another game that has some storylines attached to it. The player left this team and they're going back to face their old team. All that little storyline elements like that gets you more excited for a specific game. And that's the same thing that goes for wrestling. Everyone loves the matches, but throw in a good storyline with it and we're even more invested. WWE's local advertising may have revealed a big draft pick a few weeks in advance. The big pick being Drew McIntyre to Smackdown. Local advertisements for WWE Draft Week are listing a dark match between Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre for the Universal title, which basically makes it sound like Drew McIntyre will in fact be on the move to SmackDown, not really to the surprise of anyone. Drew McIntyre to SmackDown has been a popular fan suggestion for months now. Drew has been on Raw for a handful of years and accomplished everything he could. So a change of scenery and bringing him over to SmackDown was definitely needed. This will also help Roman Reigns. Roman has dominated the entire SmackDown locker room for well over a year now. So the draft will also result in some fresh faces for Roman to feud with as well, including Drew McIntyre. The two met last year at Survivor Series, but Roman cheated to win, so there's definitely a score to settle there between Roman and Drew. Drew even recently spoke with Give Me Sports and said he wants to do something again with Roman. He had this to say, "I mean, something with Roman is always going to interest me. He's on top of WWE right now, doing the best work of his career. I think for Roman and I, it's a case of giving it more time. I just want to keep rolling and keep building that momentum and basically catch up to the momentum that he's got right now and make it a big, big match." The card is always subject to change, but if these advertisements are telling the truth about Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns, Drew may be getting his wish and going over to SmackDown in the coming days. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.